Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing VAT in Thailand. We're discussing the possibility that it could rise, it could go up, it could increase. So, for those who are unaware, currently the VAT rate, and this is kind of like general sales tax, for people in America, it's kind of an unknown thing, but think of it kind of as a sales tax. There's a 7% value-added tax on pretty much everything in Thailand, although there are exceptions, and I made videos on exceptions to VAT in the past. But long story short, VAT is currently 7%. So that's sort of what the prevailing VAT is. That said, and I've done another video on this channel, that isn't actually the standard rate. The standard rate is 10%. That's what it was enacted at, and they have provisionally continued to, on a quote-unquote temporary basis, maintain a 7% rate rather than 10. A recent article, though, from the Bangkok Post, BangkokPost.com, article is titled "Government Spends Its Way into Trouble." It's by Charchai Parasuk, and I read a lot of this gentleman's articles, and he's very insightful on economic matters. But a recent article that he wrote had this excerpt that I thought was useful for folks to talk about things sort of in a tax matter, in a tax context. Quoting directly, "The current 7% VAT rate is only quote-unquote temporary. Therefore, an increase of VAT up to 10% does not require parliamentary approval. Third, the government could cut unnecessary expenses. Unfortunately, there's not much room to cut as current expenditure like salary and compensation accounts for 76.5% of the total budget, while capital spending is only 20.5% of total budget. Any meaningful budget cut will mean salary cuts and layoffs. Another no for the government." I thought this was interesting because he's doing an overall analysis. I'm just pulling out a little thread here. He's doing an overall analysis of possible budgetary and fiscal policy moves that could be made in Thailand, as there's issues with respect to this because, obviously tax revenue is way down, tourism's way, way off here in Thailand. But again, just to re-quote the pertinent part of this, the current 7% VAT rate is only, quote-unquote, temporary. Therefore, an increase of VAT up to 10% does not require parliamentary approval. Again, for folks that want to actually dive into this, BangkokPost.com, government spends its way into trouble. So the thing to take away from that is, and he goes into why he doesn't think that will happen. I don't necessarily think it will either, but I do think that if anything was going to happen with respect to possible rises in taxation here in Thailand, I would bet that that would be the first one because it doesn't require a parliamentary approval. It can just be done sort of in the negative. For example, in the United States, we have what's called a pocket veto. So if Congress goes out of session on certain types of laws, if the president hasn't acted before the Congress goes out of session, the law may effectively die. So you can do what's called a pocket veto. He just puts it in his pocket, forgets about it, and doesn't have to make any affirmative move. He just forgets to sign that, or intentionally forgets to sign that, and it does not become law. In this case, in a sense, they could raise taxes in kind of a pocket manner. Just, instead of signing the next document that approves the temporary or provisional keeping of the 7% VAT, they just, whoever the relevant authorities, presumably the Prime Minister, I guess, could just not sign that. And that would result in the 7% reverting to the standard, which is what was initially passed, 10% VAT. So that could have a substantial impact on taxes here in Thailand. Again, do I think it's overly likely? Probably not. There'd be tremendous political ramifications to that. But it's definitely possible, and I would say compared to other options with respect to raising of taxes in Thailand, it's one of the ones I would not put, way outside the realm of possibility. I don't think it's overly likely, but I think it's more likely than a lot of other things coming to pass.